Hello, everyone. Welcome to the AI Tripod podcast. We are going to talk about all things AI machine learning across three different perspectives. Hi, my name is Karthick Arun. I'm a sophomore in high school.
Hi guys, I'm Loveneet. I'm an undergraduate studying computer science.
Hi, my name is Arun. I'm a professional with 25 years of experience. I'm here to share and learn about AI, generative AI. Glad to be here.
As usual, all views and opinions expressed are our own and do not represent any organization, employer, or company. This podcast is independently produced and all content is for informational purposes only. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the AI Tripod podcast. Today we're going to be talking about some of the more OpenAI news, GPT 4.1 API, 4.0 mini, 3.0 mini, all those models that released, and then Claude research and its integration into Workspace, as well as AI content detectors in schools and how we're thinking about AI coding in schools as well. So guys, let's start off with the OpenAI news of the week.
Yeah, I think OpenAI went with a banger. I think released a lot of products and a lot of news.
Didn't their CEO say, hey, we got to get rid of all of this 4.1, 4 mini, oh, this, oh, that, and make everything the same, like one and all, so it avoids any confusion? To be honest with you guys, the number of 4.1 mini, nano, this, that, I'm just kind of got it getting lost in the different versions that are floating around there. I bet you a lot of people are like,
Yeah, I think there are like now like how many? Like three models for the 4.1 series. I mean, they are not on the platform, but I think then there are like four and there are like I think two or three or more models, right?
you're right. I mean, with 4.1, 4.1, 4.1 mini, and 4.1 nano. Those are the three. Looks like that's are out there, right?
But the benchmarks were pretty impressive.
I see. I mean, are you talking about the software, the SWE benchmarks for
Yeah,
four?
yeah, yeah, yeah. Did you guys see that?
Yeah, I mean, was that something somewhere around like 50? What was the benchmark exactly? Like, how much was it? Was it like some 50 some percent, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, and the one that was really exciting for me here is the context window. The context window is 1 million token context window now, compared to, I believe it was 128K for
Yeah.
4.2. So you guys realize what that means, right? I mean, the entire code, like a huge code bases, can be given to the model and say, look at all of my code. Right, Karthik?
Yeah,
Want to say something?
yeah. As far as like pricing though, I think there was a chart released um by Google with their Gemini 2.5 Pro Flash, that sort of model versus their model. And the 4.0 and 4.0 3.0 mini and those OpenAI models kind of scored very high on the pricing, but for like a million tokens compared to like those models. So that it is quite still pricey for the OpenAI version.
Yeah, I think. But did you guys see that Google also released the pricing for 2.5?
The Pro
Yeah,
2.5?
before it was, I think it is still cheaper than the OpenAI model, and it is relatively, I think, more intelligent.
Hmm.
Or maybe the 4.1 is a bit more intelligent, but the pricing is a bit higher.
Yep,
Still,
yep,
I
yep.
mean,
You're right.
now,
People are going to be looking at different aspects of it, right? Intelligence is one thing, but cost is also important because it can blow your budget, right?
I think now it's more of a like, how people used to say that now I think this is going to be a race to the bottom. These models are being becoming a commodity at this point.
Hmm. It's like almost on a weekly, bi-weekly basis. We had Meta release a whole bunch of these model advancements not too long ago, followed by Google and OpenAI. It's like going in a big circle there each. And I guess as consumers, we should all be quite happy with the competition in the sense that because you're trying, getting better and better models with cheaper price, hopefully,
I
right?
mean, now I think now OpenAI wants to be in favors with the developers. You know how Claude was the one which was very much into like we our model is the one which is very code focused, but now OpenAI is the one who released this model which is very coding focused, and I think they also released the Codex, right?
The Codex DLI.
Yeah, which is basically the Claude code clone, I think, but made it open source.
Yeah, that one, if I'm not mistaken, guys, is like a CLI tool only. Right? You can operate through CLI to generate
Yeah,
full stack applications, from what I understand.
yeah, yeah. Have you guys tried that?
I have not played with it yet. Have any of you tried it yet?
Well, I haven't tried it, but I am excited to try that because I think there were many open source already projects going on by a lot of the people who were, trying to build it out themselves. But now OpenAI has done it. So I think because, OpenAI is a big company and they have experience building the stuff.
You know,
You can see it, two main tools being search and code for all these models. Like the base tool, you now have, in order to be a serious model, you have to have both search and code. Otherwise, it's not going to take you seriously as like a tool model if you don't have those two basic tools now.
Yeah.
right. Those are like the stable stakes kind of thing now, right? Use cases, right? And that, if you look at most popularly, those are two very popular use cases for any model: coding, and then the other one is the search. I agree with you guys. Yeah.
And I think they also said that this 4.1 model will make less edits than
What do we mean by less edits?
so I think there was this problem, right? When you were coding with the LLM, it used to rewrite the old stuff, which you didn't ask it to. So it would, if you are, asking it to implement an image upload functionality or something, or very some specific thing, it will still update other things which you haven't asked it, and it will have effect on the project, and then you will have to, go in and again change all of that. But they say now with this one, that is not the case.
That be considered more better instruction following
Yeah,
capability?
I
I
think
think we
so. I think so.
belong under that, right? Yeah.
And I think with this launch, they invited the windsurf people there also.
I mean, OpenAI is up to a lot of things from what I understand. They were trying to buy Windsurf. For, did you guys?
$3 billion.
Yeah, and Windsurf has not been there for a long time. It's just like a fledgling startup, and already they are 3 billion worth.
Yeah.
Yeah, OpenAI seems to be doing a lot of stuff with like creating their own social media, doing the whole windsurf thing. They're trying to do a lot to promote their
Do you
models.
guys do you guys think it's because the competition is becoming to the, a barrel to the bottom? They are thinking of diversifying now
I
because
think
the margins will become.
Loveneet and Karthik, right? I'm like you guys pointed out, right? Because of the LLM being commoditized now, right? You cannot differentiate when it is a commodity that much, right? You are
Yeah.
under too much
Yeah.
price pressure and everything to differentiate. But this could be a way for them to offer that very integrated services end to end, right? So they can build an ecosystem, I think, that can keep people
Guys,
around.
have you seen that now they're offering a memory built into the ChatGPT platform? I think that's the way they are going because now they will be able to personalize everything. If the
It's
AI
almost
remembers you,
it's yeah, it's like how Apple does it with their iPhone, iPad, Mac, Apple. How once you get one of them, it links up everything. It works so nicely together. But the moment you use something from outside and try to use it with an Apple device, it'll never work as good as it did with all the Apple devices. That's kind of what they're doing with everything will work well with ChatGPT. And the moment you try to use Claude or something like that with it, it might not work as well as it does with everything.
And Karthik, you know why they want to build the social media platform. That's no
yeah,
brainer. Because once you build the social media platform, people like you, me, and they use that platform. You're gonna talk, you're gonna do stuff, and guess what? They're gonna know all of our behaviors and likings and everything. Loveneet, back to your point, remembering things within the Chat GPT world is going to expand, right? And they know a lot and they can provide better services and everything. So there is a method behind the madness.
I think they are trying to create a whole ecosystem now. They know that the layer of becoming a commodity is not the most profitable one. It is highly competitive. The prices will go down because the competition is there. The days are gone when they were the only company that knew how to build this. And now they are on a, they are raising so much money. Investors want to know what's the worth of that. And now they have to
Yeah.
differentiate on that.
I thought they were raising money purely for buying GPUs at some point of time. But now I'm realizing that's not the only goal, and that shouldn't be their only goal, right? That just investing in GPUs, no, they want this broad depth of capability as well. Like for example, Meta is sitting on a gold mine. They have so much of social media data, and they're extremely good at AI as well. That's like a powerhouse, right? So for these guys, they don't have the rest of the
Yeah.
advantage that Meta has.
And even Google, all these companies who already have, these already built data pipelines, which I would say, because they have so much data. And because like I think Google is the one which is like the most will have the most benefit because it controls every point of the pipeline. They have the data, they have their own chips. I think they launched some of the new chips which were like very highly, efficient ones.
Ironwood, if I'm not mistaken, that was the name of that one of the chips
Yeah,
that introduced.
yeah, yeah. I think yeah, that was the one. Now
Everybody
they
wants
control that.
everybody wants to control that
Yeah, yeah.
lowest layer, the chip layer, because that's where the optimization, efficiency, money,
Yes.
everything is.
And I think that is the
Yeah.
reason that Google is able to offer this low price and this much high touch because they control basically every point in the pipeline.
Even Amazon, Trainium and Titanium chips, they have that place in that space, right? And it's able to do a lot of optimization and cost efficiency because of that strength right there. So everybody is going after that.
So now we're going to move on to the next sort of topic here. Claude research and its integration to Google Workspace. They announced that fairly recently, but it seems to be the direct competitor to ChatGPT's research and ChatGPT's integration with Google Drive and OneDrive. It seems to be the direct competition to that. So talk about that.
Yeah. I mean,
Interesting.
everyone is trying to build services now. The only point of, creating these intelligent models, I don't think that's the case now. Have you guys used any of this?
No, I have done some research on because I was very interested in cloud research and how it works, right? When I looked at the demos online, right, it's just integrated with the Google Workspace, which includes your email, your calendar, your whole professional life kind of could be connected, including Slack messages, everything could be connected.
Yeah, that plus also it uses the search again from that same search tool, just like how ChatGPT does it, except ChatGPT, it might have access to like Google Drive and like OneDrive, but that's it. You're not really able to connect a whole lot after that. Although Bard, like not Bard, but like the new version of Gemini has access to email and it has more access to more services. It can access email, maps, calendar, docs, so that might be a closer competitor to them for like the tools because Google already has access to all of their tools, Maps, email, Google Docs, all that.
The cloud one would be, maybe I look at it in a different angle. You're right. Google has the native capabilities of connecting with their tools and much more better, right? But Claude could, Google Spaces is just the first foray in what they're trying to do here, right? But it could expand to anywhere. They could even go after like, Microsoft platforms and other platforms that are out there, open source ones, where the same concept, but it could be much more applicable elsewhere too, right? And I see the use cases are very, very appealing, right? Example, I saw somebody planning for vacation. There's a 2 weeks vacation upcoming for them. They'll say, hey, go find out what's pending for me, who I need to delegate this to, whatnot. This goes and figures out what's the upcoming meeting, looks at his email, looks at the follow-up action items, figures out who needs to do what. It types out everything, and boom, you send the email, and then he says, now go plan my vacation. It just switches gear and does something else, right? But the fact that it does all of this automatically is mind blowing. And if somebody says, Arun, can you send me this particular file that you got? I wanted it. I have to go manually look up now and attach in an email and everything. But I don't even have to get involved. I give power to this guy. It can take care of it for me. Amazing.
Yeah.
I think they also have the GitHub integration now. Have you guys checked that out? I tried
Claude,
that one.
Claude research itself. Okay, that's another fascinating area. Have you looked at that?
Not the Claude research. I think just the Claude, like, chat interface that has the GitHub.
I've seen that. I've tried it as well. So like if you go to the Claude the console, there is a way to connect GitHub right from the
Yeah,
console.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah.
yeah. So you can pretty much give the whole code base, and it can get the context of the code
And
base.
the thing is, how you start pushing the
Yeah. Also, up to a certain amount. If you have a huge GitHub repo, it won't allow it. It has to be up to like
Yeah,
a certain context
that
window.
have
The context window isn't that big for that actually. If you try to add like a couple, if you add like a JSON file or something like that, it'll take up the entire space.
yeah. I think that is limited to the. I used to think that the projects, the project section in Claude would be like, a memory or basically a RAG interface. It's not. It's literally just the context window. They just add that already to the context window. And I also face the same issue.
That's why I don't work with these individual tools because of the context window problem. I'm a big fan of vibe coding and cursor now, right? So cursor, I use agents and auto selection of models in the background. So I don't have to worry. They intelligently manage this context somehow magically and keep things going, right? So to a certain extent that satisfy my needs. Otherwise, Karthik, like you pointed out, I have to worry about how big my code base is and, encounter this, compress or whatnot.
Yeah. Also, another difference is this one is memory, as in it adds it to the context window. I'm curious if that's how ChatGPT, because ChatGPT's memory, if it worked like that, they wouldn't be able to do the memory across all the chats. So I'm kind of curious how they're doing memory versus like Claude's memory, which is just adding it onto the context window.
Right. I mean, they have some very smart techniques to handle it, like compressing and keeping track of a checklist of how things are going and everything. But talking about cloud research, I want to come back to that topic a little bit. One thing I heard people talk about is security, which is important too. See, if I'm asking a question, it shouldn't be looking at Loveneet's Google Drive folder or Loveneet's email, as opposed to my email. And how do you control? Your instance can talk to only you.
Well, the I think how they're controlling it is using authentication. Whenever you do connect, it asks you to log into Google, go through Google's authentication, and then it turns back the account, and that's kind of kept to your account, and you can do it in the settings itself. Set it to your account for all the services already. So that's how they're kind of differentiating it. It's not really going to the model level. It's just staying there, and like if it giving the authentication, it uses that to determine what account. I don't think it's getting mixed up with anybody else's account.
I mean, so that's important, I think. I think I'm glad you pointed it out, right? Because security will be the top priority of people, especially in enterprises and government organizations or whatnot, right? They shouldn't have access to things that they don't have access to just because they're using Claude research tool, right? It should carry that
Mhm.
authentication and authorization along with them, and the tool should do that.
It keeps it at the account level. It doesn't go to the model and tell it this is exactly all the authentication information for this Google Drive thing. I think it's at the account level itself. It'll grab the document and then send that one document to the model to get that kind of information back. I don't think the model itself has access to everybody's Google Drive and getting the document, doing it. I think there's an account layer that's kind of getting the document and then sending it to the model.
And Claude makes it up, Anthropic makes it abundantly clear that they're not using their company data to train their model. Again, it's somewhere underscored that don't worry about that, right? So those
Yeah.
are the two important things. Cool.
Okay. Yeah, so let's move on to the next topic here, which is very interesting. AI content detectors in the school with zero GPT and all these other AI detectors, as well as how schools are handling and thinking about AI coding, which I have some thoughts on later on, but we'll start with the AI content detectors and whether the credibility of them, false positives, false negatives, that sort of thing we can talk about.
You guys are closer to it than me. I'm done with school at this point of time. I'm curious to know what both of you think from high school, Karthik, from your standpoint, and from college, Loveneet, your standpoint. What do you think about AI lie detector? Not lie detectors, I shouldn't say lie detectors, like AI content detectors generated by AI, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so as far as content detectors, I know the main ones that my school uses, which is very clear and abundant. It's Google's default one that they give anyways, and something called turnitin.com, which is not really used, I don't think, in the college space quite much as it is in high school, but it is another program that they created, not specifically for AI detection, but just general plagiarism detection, but it has like an AI feature for detecting that. I mean, it does do a lot of false positive though. Maybe it doesn't definitely does not say 100% not AI. It'll always say like 10%, 15%. Even if you completely wrote it yourself with no involvement from any LLM or any SLM, nothing like that, and you just wrote it by yourself, it'll still say, oh, it's 10% AI generated. And of course, teachers know that, so they give it margin of error, like up to like maybe like 20, 25%. Then after that, obviously, after that, it's kind of clear that at least some part of it was AI generated. But if it's like 10%, 5%, they know that it's like most likely a false positive. So teachers are aware of that. And I think also a lot of these AI detectors need like a certain amount of text. Even if you give like a sentence, it needs more like a paragraph to detect it, I think.
Yeah, I mean, how about you, Loveneet? Curious to know about your perspective on that.
Yeah, I think many of the classes are using the tools, but the problem is that I mean, I've like heard that many times the false positive is a problem because sometimes students like I mean lives of students are dependent on this, and if the system can't identify like 100% accurately, that can have a lasting impact.
Yeah, I think that's an important problem because as AI kind of got rushed into the public, I think they weren't aware of like, oh, what tools are appropriate to use for checking it. Some teachers are just using ChatGPT itself, and it's been known across the world as like taking credit for something it didn't create. Like it'll say, yes, of course I created this, and then that's a problem. And a lot of false positives in colleges, and colleges had like what is and everything like that for the false positives. So it's a problem with the tools that teachers use and whether they're aware of like false positives and how to handle that versus like just automatically trusting it. Like, oh, it says it was AI generated, it's AI generated. I think that's another thing.
You
I think
know,
the yeah, yeah, yes.
I was going to say, totally, I think fundamentally all this is wrong. Okay. The thing is, if you come up with an assignment and you're scared about students using AI, you are wrong. You're doing it completely wrong. The assignment itself is wrong. That's the whole point. And people keep doing that because it's easy. That's how it's been done in the past, and they want to keep doing it again and again. You know, teachers and institutions have to think hard on what is the right way to assess the student.
Like, for example, this happened with the calculator, the computer. When the computer first came out, it's not like everybody was like, computers cheating, don't use it. We ended up integrating it into schools and now we're using it for schoolwork and everything like that. Same thing with AI. Now we're all scared of, oh, it's scary AI, but eventually we'll end up using it in school, just like how we're using computers and everything right now.
Because I think right now it's a bit of like every system needs a bit of time for adjustment, and I think we are still going on through that phase right now. It
I
will
mean,
take a
the
bit of
computer
time.
took like 10, 20 years to like actually get into schools and schools be able to actually use it. Took a long time for that, but I'm curious if it'll take that long of a time for AI or if it'll take longer or if it'll take shorter amount of time because of the rapid kind of innovation with AI. Kind of curious where that'll go.
Guys, like, I'm happy for people like you. So you guys are much more advanced in the curve, right? You guys know what AI is, what the future is, and everything. But there are so many students who start believing that AI is truly bad. It's not good because of all these practices that are out there in
And
institutions.
yeah, and again, obviously not on behalf of my school, but generally, like around like the school and everything like that, district itself, people have that connotation of oh AI, oh all of a sudden oh AI is cheating. No, AI is lazy. If you use AI, you're lazy. But the real thing is when you go to the workplace, they are gonna really have a hard time because they're not gonna know how to use AI. They're gonna refuse to use AI, and they're not gonna be able to use it productively to get the work done. Whoever is using it productively is who's gonna get the promotion and get like better opportunities and stuff like that. Yeah, and also another thing is that with people being aware of using AI in school, I think I'm not obviously going to disclose what the teacher's name is here, but I did ask a teacher if they knew what vibe coding was and if they knew how to use vibe coding. And the surprising answer was no, I don't know what vibe coding is. So the knowledge of like how to use AI in coding in school quite isn't there. I don't think there like people are enough interested enough to like learn more about how AI is being used in schools and different ways of using AI. Like they're still using like the default like VS Code. They're not using Cursor. They're not using Windsurf. They're still using VS Code, Eclipse, those sort of tools. So I think there's time for like some innovation there to kind of educate teachers and students on how to use AI responsibly. I think there's time for that.
Yep, makes absolute sense, right? All right, so that's an exciting topic, but hopefully this triggers more conversations among institutions and students and teachers and lead to something better and not leave people out there. We need
Yeah.
to bridge the gap
Yeah.
here.
I think that like this will take the same course that computers did, the same course that the calculator way back then did. I think it'll take the same course. It just might take a little bit longer, a little bit shorter even to get that into schools. But eventually we have like Chromebooks and laptops now. I think then it'll be AI, but it'll take maybe a little bit longer, maybe a little bit shorter for it to actually
I
happen.
guess that's a nice positive way to end the show
Yeah.
on positive looking.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Kyle. Loveneet, do you want to say something?
Yeah, I think Khan Academy was the one who built one of the demos I was able to see, where they were using these LLM models to become a personalized tutor to
Yeah.
learn new concepts. That was pretty cool.
Yep.
Using
I mean,
it like that is
I'm glad folks like Khan, as I know, like Sal Khan Academy is one of the leaders in this space trying to propose responsible use of this technology and how it can impact education. I even read his book recently, Brave New Words. Excellent, excellent book too. I would recommend to anybody who's interested in education and its impact on, the
Not sponsored here, but like we definitely do recommend the book, but we're definitely not officially sponsored. We're not getting paid by Silicon.
Okay, disclaimer, Karthik's disclaimer. Okay, all right, cool.
Okay, so then I think we're able to talk through a lot of the important topics from the week. So you guys can tune in next time to learn more about generative AI and how it's being used in the world. And we can explore the latest advancements in the world of AI, generative AI. Can't wait to see you all next week. All right,
Happy
guys.
writing. Bye.
Bye.